Hey guys, so let's divide fractions by using models. So starting here with our problem 5 divided by 1/3. So anytime I'm going to model my division, I'm going to start by drawing the first number. So I always draw the first number. So here I drew 5 rectangles already. And then you should make sure you have common denominators. So between my whole 5 and my 1/3, I want to make sure those have common denominators. So my 5, if I change this, if I want, right now it's 5 over 1, right? A whole number is over 1 and 1/3. If I'm trying to find a common denominator between those two, I can change 1 into 3. So I'm going to change this by multiplying by 3. So really I have 15/3 divided by 1/3. Okay. And now I can finish my drawing. So I started off by drawing 5 whole rectangles. And I need to make sure each of those rectangles is cut into the right number of pieces. So once I find my common denominator, that's what I cut each of these rectangles into. So into 3 pieces each. And it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to do my best to try to make these even-ish. So each of these cut into 3 pieces. And at the end, I should end up with 15 pieces because it was 15/3. So if I kind of count it, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I have 15 pieces total. Okay, so I always draw this number, and then I'm going to group by the top of the second fraction. So I'm grouping by whatever the top of the second fraction is. So here, this is one group because there's 1/3 right there. Here's another 1/3. Here's another 1/3. So there's already 3 pieces right there. Keep going. Keep grouping by 1. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Keep going. There's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, so 5 divided by 1/3 equals 15 for my answer. Okay, let's go ahead and do another one. So again, you start off by drawing the first number. So I draw this, draw 3. That's what we did. I drew 3 rectangles right there. I want to go ahead and make sure they have common denominators. So since it's a whole number, the denominator is going to be this piece right here. So I'm going to make sure I cut it into that many pieces. So each of these rectangles I'm going to cut into 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. And then the top of the second fraction, that's what I group by. Okay, this is important. On the last one, it was just a 1, so every one piece was a group. Here it's a 3 though. I'm doing 3 divided by 3/4. So I have to count 1, 2, 3 pieces. These 3 are a group. Now I can connect this one with the other one. So 1, 2, 3. Here's another 3 pieces. There's a group. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 pieces. And 1, 2, 3. There's 3 pieces. So I ended up with 4 whole groups because each of these that I circled is equal to 3/4 of a rectangle. Okay, so I was circling 3 1/4 size pieces, and my answer ends up being 4. Okay, now I didn't draw the rectangles for you because we're going to talk through how to do that. So remember, I'm going to draw the first number, but since they both have denominators now, it's not a whole number, I'm going to start off actually by going ahead and making those common denominators. So 1/2 and 1/4. 2 and 4. The lowest common denominator would be 4ths because I can take this times 2. So really I have 2/4 divided by 1/4. Okay. So I'm going to draw my first number. Remember, we always draw this. Draw. So I'm going to draw 2/4. What does that look like? Okay, well, I need to start off with a rectangle. 1 whole rectangle, but I don't have the whole rectangle. I only have 2/4 of it. So I'm going to cut it. Remember, I cut into this number. So I'm going to cut it into 4 pieces. Here's the tricky part about drawing. Now that it's not a whole number, this is what I shade, because this is how many pieces I actually have. So I have 1, 2 of these 4 pieces. I have 2/4. Now I group, oopsies, I group by the top of this number. So every 1 piece is a group. So 1, 2. So 1/2 divided by 1/4 equals 2. Okay, one more time. You draw the first number, give them common denominators, then draw the first number. To do that, you make sure you cut it into the denominator. So 4 pieces. I shaded 2 of those pieces because that's how many I really had. I only had 2/4, and then I group by the top of the second number. All right, let's do another one. So 1 1/6 divided by 2/3. Again, I'm going to start off by giving common denominators. So this is turning into, let's see, 6 3/3. 3 can become 6 by just multiplying by 2. So I'm going to really have this as 1 1/6 divided by 4/6. Now we draw our first fraction. So I'm going to draw 1 1/6. So I need 1 whole rectangle and a second rectangle so that we can show what 1/6 looks like. So 1 whole rectangle, a second whole rectangle. I'm going to cut these into my 6 into my denominator. Both of my rectangles cut into 6ths. Now I'm going to shade in what I have. Well, I have this whole first rectangle, so I'm going to shade this whole first one in, and I have 1 out of the 6 pieces in my second rectangle. So this fraction that I just drew represents 1 1/6. Okay? Now I group by the top of the second fraction. So every 4 pieces is a group. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 pieces make one group. 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 pieces make a second group. Here's the problem. Look at that second group I just drew. I circled 4 pieces, but there aren't 4 pieces shaded. So if I look, it kind of stops right here, right? There's these 3 pieces shaded and 1 extra left over that's not shaded. So this is not going to be a whole number answer. Our answer is actually going to be a fraction. Okay, how do I get that fraction? By looking at what I have shaded. So how many pieces did I have that were shaded in that group? 1, 2, 3. Out of how many pieces was I trying to circle by? I was trying to circle 4 pieces, so 4. So my answer ends up being 1 whole group and 3/4 of a second group. So 1 3/4. Again, if I just show you one more time how we got that fraction, how many did you have out of how many did you need? That's how I got that fraction. I'll write it down. This part right here. How many did you have shaded out of how many did you need in a group? So I had 3, I needed 4. So I only had 3/4 of that group. Okay, 2 1/4 divided by 2 1/2. All right, we can do this. So start off by making common denominators. You go ahead and make these into common denominators. Okay, so hopefully you could see that they could both be fourths. So I have 2 1/4 divided by 2 2/4. Okay, then I draw that first fraction. So go ahead and draw a model of 2 1/4. So for that you need 3 rectangles. 1, 2, 3 rectangles. I should be cutting these rectangles into 4ths. This is what I cut by. So each of these cut into 4 pieces. And don't forget to shade in what you have. Okay, so I'm going to shade in. I have 2 whole rectangles, so I have this whole thing and this whole thing, but only 1/4 of this last one, so just this one piece. Okay, then I'm going to group by 2 2/4. This is a tricky one because it's got the whole number. I'm not just grouping by that little number 2. I'm dividing this into 2 2/4. So I actually need to make this into an improper fraction. So remember, this is your cartwheel. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So this is really 10/4. Okay, so I'm really grouping here by this top number, by 10. So every 10 pieces is a group. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here is what a group would look like. Do I have all the pieces in that group? No. Okay, right here is where it's cut off. So how many do I have that are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Out of how many did I need to group? I needed 10 pieces. So my answer is 9/10. That's a little tricky one. If your second number is a mixed number, you have to make it improper so you can see what you can divide by. See what you're grouping by. Okay, one more. So let's come up with a common denominator. You go ahead and find your common denominator. Alrighty, so 3 and 4, the smallest number that those have in common would be a 12. So I'm going to take this one times 4 and this times 3. So I get 8/12 divided by 3/12. Now I'm going to draw this first one, right? Remember, if I draw this, I'm going to make sure it gets cut into this many pieces, and I'm going to shade this many pieces. So let me just start with my one big rectangle. It's cut into 12 pieces. Let's see if I can get this cut very well. Okay, there's 12 pieces, and I'm going to shade. I'm shading in 8 of those pieces. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so those 8 pieces are shaded in. And then finally, this top of my second number, that is what I group by. So every 3 pieces. So 1, 2, 3, there's a group. 1, 2, 3, there's a group. 1, 2, 3, there's a group, but I don't have the whole group. Okay, so let's think about the fraction. How many do I have? I have 2. How many did I need? I was grouping it by 3, so I needed 3. So I had 2 whole groups and 2/3 of a group. So 2/3 divided by 1/4 equals 2 2/3. And that is it, guys. So remember, always model the first number after you find common denominators, and then group by the top of the second number. It must be no whole numbers. It has to be improper or just a regular fraction. And that's it.